Howdy everybody, welcome to elevator video number 17. So in this video I am actually finishing up the elevators. So I start with the counterweights for the elevators, and just so you know, after cutting the counterweights on my bandsaw with my aluminum blade on the bandsaw, I had to replace that blade with a new one. So just FYI, if you don't have the correct blade for cutting lead, which is very difficult and hard to do, you'll be buying a new blade for your bandsaw, just FYI. And I am using the, I forget what they call that. I'll show you a picture here in a little bit of the file, but the file seemed to work really well with shaping the lead. And so basically what you have is 4 pieces of lead that are identical, and then you cut them down and shape them, and what you do is you make 2 individual pieces, one for each side, and they're opposites. I don't know how else to explain that. So you make one that fits on the inside, one that fits on the outside of both elevators, and then you shape them for that particular purpose there. And as you do cut them, that piece gets hot, so make sure you have gloves. And then you sand them down using that file you get in the toolkit. I used my regular file, and that didn't seem to work, and it got all gummed up. But this flat curved tooth file seemed to work really, really well with the lead pieces. And so that's all I'm doing is cutting those pieces on the bandsaw, shaving them down the way they're supposed to be, filing them so they look pretty, and then we'll be attaching them to the wings here before too long. So while I'm doing that, I have a joke for you. Did you hear about the T-Rex that sells guns? He's a small arms dealer. My daughter liked that one. I thought that one was pretty funny. But anyways. Okay. So there you're attaching them. It calls out the specific bolts and nuts that you're supposed to use there. I did not torque those down. I didn't find any torque values in the instructions, so I just tightened them until they were tight. And I haven't put Loctite on them yet, but I'm assuming I'll do that at some point. I don't know. I just follow the instructions, so when it tells me to do that, I'll do that. Just clamp those 2 pieces basically together and tighten it down, and then you have your elevator counterweights. And then this is the other elevator doing that side as well. And so yeah, screw them on, squeeze them together, tighten them down, and you're good to go. And then we have rolling of the edges. And so I've watched a bunch of videos on how to roll those front edges, and the Gorilla Tape and using either the 1-inch PVC or the broom handle, I've tried both of them. Those work. It's not a bad way to go. It does put a nice curve on there. You do have to be careful because if you don't have a hold of the other side of the broom handle, it can kind of bend it at an odd angle. But the edge of the material, when you Gorilla Tape the edge to the broom handle, the edge gets a bend on it. And that bend you have to bend back, because then you have to rivet it. And if there's a bend on both pieces, the top and the bottom, when you go to rivet that, those pieces won't be together. And so you have to go back after you've bent it using the broom handle and the Gorilla Tape. You have to go back and unbend the edge of that particular angle there, that particular sheet of aluminum. I'll have an image here real quick for you. So in this image, you'll see my poor paint skills. But basically, if you tape those the broom right to the end, you end up with two curved pieces that you then have to unbend to get straight. But if you put like a ½ inch of space, that second part of that image is what you end up with, because the end kind of stays straight. And then what you do is you take the broom handle and you clamp it to your table back, not at the edge of the aluminum piece. You clamp it further back, and then you bend it with your hand. And you can kind of see me bending that manually right there to make it fit properly. And it just seemed to be a little bit better to not have to unbend that rolled edge. So if you clamped the broomstick kind of towards the back and bent it up a little bit, and then moved the broomstick a little bit forward and clamped it again and bent it up a little bit, you ended up with a nice round corner, a nice round edge, but with a flat surface that you can then rivet to the other skin. So it seemed to work out a lot better. Again, I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but that's what seemed to work out. Is so we put the broom in there, we taped it kind of far away, we started the initial bend, but it left the face flat, the edge flat, and then we moved it down and we clamped it with some C-clamps. You can see those on the table there. And then you push it kind of with your thumbs to get you that nice round edge on the elevator skin. And then when you clamp it together, both pieces are actually together. So when you rivet it, you don't end up with a rivet that has a space in it. And you might ask me, hey, how do you know there's going to be a space there? Well, because I had that happen, and that's why we kind of changed, because we had to drill rivet out and kind of re-bend that thing back so those rivets would be together there. And then we do basically the same thing on this second elevator. Put them together, roll the edges, cleco them, and then rivet them. And then you're pretty much done with those rolled edges. And that is, I will tell you, that is a stressful part, because they're basically complete at this point except for that rolled edge. And if you bend that aluminum wrong, you pretty much scrap the entire part. So it is stressful, and let's just say your blood pressure kind of goes up a little bit, and you work really slow, and you move a millimeter at a time. And so that's kind of why I liked the clamp it down and push it, because then I can judge it. And I knew I was never going to go too far with bending that piece. And so it made it a little bit easier to do, and I felt a little bit more like I wasn't going to ruin hundreds of dollars worth of aluminum and have to start over. And as you can tell, there's 17 videos. All of them, we probably average 10 minutes each, and there's probably 3 or 4 hours of raw video for each 10 minutes. So you're talking about a pretty good chunk of time to get those elevators done. But here we are, kind of finishing those elevators up, and we'll rivet those together. So you made a mistake, had to drill one out. Even with pop rivets, you can make mistakes. It's shocking, but it happens. And there you go. Those are done. And now we're moving on to the trim tab motor. My folks left. My folks were visiting with us, and so they just left, and now I'm working on the trim tab motor. And I'm going to end this video with without the voiceover, and it will be the last elevator video. So everybody clap, yay! And then you'll get to see my excitement at the end. So as always, if you have any criticism, constructive criticism, thoughts, ideas, things you want to ask me, feel free to leave them in the comments and I will respond. So have fun. Talk to you later. Bye.
Hey, look.
Ooh.
Cool, huh? First. Yay, huh?
Good job. You did it.
How cool am I, baby?
Very cool.